Hallelujah. I have to clarify a little bit. I did study theology. I was studying for the ministry. I never actually became a minister. I never became a pastor or a priest. After 4 years of studying religion, I came to the conclusion that I'm not a believer. Actually, my daughter heard me say that one time, and she said, "You're not a believer?" And I said, "No, not a believer." I guess you have to be 10 years old to get that joke, right? Anyway, I came here. I came to Sweden. I met a girl, and the rest of it's history. I discovered, well, I thought, since I'm not going to go into the ministry, I thought I would work in business, doing something. I didn't know really what. I discovered rather quickly that a degree in religion from the United States doesn't open any doors at all in Swedish business world. So I ended up going to the Stockholm School of Economics. Anyway, I've had some fun jobs. Today I work helping organizations with change. And I like to say that I try to help organizations do what they want to get done. I try to help them avoid the cost of doing things wrong. I'm not helping them avoid doing the wrong things. They're smart enough to figure out what they need to do in their business, but what we find time and time again is that they're just not capable of getting done what they want to get done. So that's kind of what my focus is, and I'm going to share a few thoughts, but I thought instead of me trying to tell you everything I know about change in 18 minutes and talking really fast and seeing if you can understand it, that I thought maybe we would discover some things together. So I'm going to say a few words, and then we're going to do some fun stuff together. I started out making 10 commandments for change, kind of playing with this minister thing, and the 10 commandments became 11 and 12, and you just can't have 12 commandments. Moses decided it was 10, so it's starting to become a whole gospel of change. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but we're going to do a few things. The first thing is I have a golden rule for organizational change. Keep in mind that what I'm talking about here today is change in organizations. A lot of this can be applied to change as an individual, but I'm focused on changing as an organization. Anybody got an idea what a good golden rule for change in an organization would be?
Make the change.
What?
Make the change happen.
Make it happen, yeah? Open-minded, a good one. Not the one I thought of, but a good one, yeah. More?
Not change because of change.
Yeah, I meet people all the time and say, bosses who say, "Oh, I just like to change to keep everybody on their toes." And if you're going to change something, you want to do it to make it better, but that's not what I was thinking. I'm going to help you out because I don't think you're ever going to come up with my golden rule of changes. Forget it. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? Well, I probably would have if this wasn't going out across the entire world on the internet. We've heard a lot of great people today talking about achieving incredible things, and now I'm kind of going to be the depressing guy, and I'm going to tell you just to leave it alone. When you look at change, I'm probably going to say two things that are scientifically well proven, scientifically and academically well supported. And the first of those things is that most change initiatives in organizations go to hell. They just don't work out. And there's a number, about 75% of change initiatives in organizations just don't work out. And if you're interested in references, I'll give them to you later. The other thing I'm going to say today that is very scientifically proven is that it doesn't have to be that bad. There's a body of knowledge, a lot of knowledge and competence that you can use that will increase your success rate enormously. Organizations that are generally successful at their change initiatives are 4 or 5 times better than the average. I'm not talking about 4 to 5 times better than the worst ones. They're 4 or 5 times better than the average because they've learned something. And when you've learned to do something, you can do it again. It's not magic. You learn a skill set and you can apply it over and over and over again. And what happens? You start being good at something. You get good at change. So the bad news is we're not very good at it yet. The good news is we can be. There's hope. And it's good that there's hope because this costs us a lot of money. You put some numbers together from some different research that's been done around the world, you can easily come up with a cost in the Western world for poor change, for poorly executed change, in the trillions of dollars. Only in Sweden, it's probably $2 or $3 billion is the cost of annually of poor execution of change. I mean, that actually makes a little bump on your BMP. That's a lot of money. Well, so we're going to think about how we can turn this around. I'm not here to depress you. There is hope. And we can fix this thing. And you said, be open-minded, right? Would you agree that being open-minded is important for change? I mean, we're going to do it different. We may not know exactly how or what, but it's going to be different than it was. We have to think open-mindedly. And, you know, when you do these TED Talks, you don't get a lot of time, so maybe there's no point to go into this open-minded because there's nobody here that's not open-minded, is there? Yeah, everybody's open-minded? Yeah. Why don't we see? I have given you a little present. You may not have noticed it, but you have a paper clip on your little name tag. Does everybody have their paper clip? I want you to take the paper clip and put it in one hand or the other and just turn to somebody who's sitting close to you, and they're going to say which hand you put the paper clip in, and then you take turns so everybody gets to try it once. It's pretty easy. Most groups can manage this in about a minute. And just put the paper clip in one hand or the other, turn to the person beside you, and they're going to tell you what hand you put the paper clip in, and then you take turns. Go ahead and do it. How's it going? Is there anybody that needs a little more time? Has everybody tried it once? Okay, now, everybody who was able to say, everyone who was right, who was able to say which hand the other person had it in, raise your hand. And everyone who wasn't able to say which hand the other person had it in, it's about 50-50. That's odd. Now, all of you who weren't able to, put your hands up, and everyone else look at them. No, I'm teasing. It's always fun to see how people turn and look at each other, you know. Okay. The ones of you that weren't able to say which hand the other one is, somebody want to tell me why you weren't able to come up with the right answer? Somebody volunteer? It's chance, yeah. You know, I couldn't see really everyone in the room from where I was standing, but a lot of you, most of you that I could see, did this thing. Some of you were doing this, or you put it behind your back. You know, maybe you put it in your back pocket and it wasn't anywhere, you know. And let's face it, that kind of makes it hard. It's a 50-50 chance, right? Now, what did I ask you to do? I said, put the paper clip in one hand or the other, turn to the person beside you, and they're going to tell you which hand the paper clip is in. Now, sometimes groups will say, yeah, but you said that you should guess which hand and stuff. Fortunately, this is on video, so you can go back and see what I actually said. I just said, put the paper clip in your hand, turn to the person beside you, and they're going to tell you which hand it's in. It turns out that we human beings aren't naturally open-minded. It's not even healthy to be open-minded all the time. In fact, you could talk to evolution, biological psychologists and evolution psychologists, and they'll say things like, if there ever were truly open-minded people, Like say some caveman who went around and said, everyone I know has died when they ate these red berries, but who knows, maybe they're not poisonous today. I mean, if there ever was any people like that, their genes didn't get passed on to us. Actually, we learn things. We go to school. We learn that, and my kids are at the age where they've just learned their multiplication tables, and it's really fun because when you first start learning your multiplication tables, before you really understand the whole concept, you can say, what's 8 times 4? And they might say, 647. And like as a parent, you're like, man, where did you come up with that? Well, the point is, if you don't understand the concept behind it and you don't know the answer, it could be anything. My son said, Dad, don't you realize that numbers are infinite? It could be anything. But with time, you learn that 6 times 4 is always the same thing. You see, when you stand on the stage, you might forget it's 24, you know. It's not 25, it's not 23, never ever. You close your mind to that possibility. So this is good, but it's not always good. When you're in change situations, when you're in situations where you need to think creatively, you need to get outside the box, it can be hard. You follow that? And then there's the other problem. You know, we have a tendency to hold on to information. We think information is power. And you know, when I tell you, I could see some of you, you were kind of proud that you guessed right on the other person, but they guessed wrong. You put a lot of prestige in a paperclip. But if you want to, in change situations, you've got to create openness. You've got to create trust. And the best way to create trust is to open up first. Was there any couple here, any partners here that somebody did the open hand? Yeah? Were you first? Did you go first?
Well, we actually did it at the same time.
You both did open.
Yeah.
Man.
You said, hold it out and say which hand. And
You just,
I thought it was a ridiculous task.
well, it is if you do it that way. Huh? Yeah. You know, suppose you came up and you listened to what I said and you said, oh, I can give my partner the open hand. You create kind of a social pressure on the other person to answer with an open hand, don't you? Now, suppose it happens sometimes in groups that somebody starts with an open hand and the other one answers with a closed hand. That's a pretty hard gesture. You might as well, you know? It's kind of... It turns out, Machiavelli talked about that information is power, but information turns out to be power only if I share it. If I have information that you need, I gain power by sharing it, not by keeping it. You follow that? In any kind of change situation, you always have just 3 choices. You can accept things the way they are, and accepting things the way they are is not a passive action. That's an active decision to accept things as they are. And you make the best of things as they are. That's not passive, that's active, and that's a decision you can make in any situation. If there are things in your environment that you don't like, that you want to change or improve, you can do that too. And if there's things in your environment that you don't like and you don't want to live with, you can also just change environments. And think that I'm talking about organizations, and if I talk to people who say, you know, I don't want to be a part of this change, you don't have to be. Nobody ever has to be a part of an organizational change that they don't want to be a part of. And people ask me quite often, how do I get the people to do what I want them to do? And you know what? I tell them, you can't. I think it's healthier to say, you can never get other people to do what you want them to. You can only get them to do what they want to do. And if we're in an organization together and we want to do something together, we will. And if I don't want to, then I won't. But ultimately, I may need to go somewhere else where I want to be a part of that activity. What do you say about that? You want to try one last exercise before we round off? Everybody grab a partner. This one you need to be 2 people. If somebody's left over, I'm sorry. I don't know if we're odd or even. Stand up. Look at each other. And you need to listen because this is complicated. You need to imagine that there is a line between you and that you're standing each on one side of the line. And I'll give you 1 minute to get the other person over to your side of the line. So you're looking at each other, and you get 1 minute to get the other person over on your side of the line. If you succeed, you get $1,000. And you get 1 minute. And there are no rules. You can't start before I say go. Don't start before I say go. Okay, ready? Get set, go. You have 1 minute to get the other person to come over to your side of the line. If you succeed, you get $1,000. You have 30 seconds left. The goal is to get the other person on your side of the line, and if you succeed, you get $1,000. Okay, you've got about 15 seconds left. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, time's up. Is there anybody that didn't get the person over on their side of the line? A few people. They got kind of stuck in the negotiations there. Is there anybody that used violence? I saw a few trying, yeah? Is there anybody that did, like, come over here and we'll split the money? Yeah, that's the junk. Did anybody come up with any other one? Yeah? You switch. These guys want $1,000 each. Doggone. Yeah. So, here's, yeah?
I think there is no chance to getting over the line because it doesn't matter how close you are, it's still a line between you.
Yeah.
So you can.
You know, that's a little too deep for this one. Yeah. We'll take that the next time. That's a good point. You know what? Just think about this. Suppose I had already, when I gave you the task, I defined what was going to happen. You fell in love with your first idea, most of you. And after, most of you solved this in 10 seconds or less. And after that, you were talking about stuff and looking at other people. Suppose I had said, you have 1 minute to come up with so many solutions to this problem as you can. Afterwards, we'll evaluate which one was better. I bet you to come up with probably 5 or 10 different. So already in our way of giving the task to ourselves or to our group, we define the limitations of their creativity. You can open up the box just by putting the question forward. I want to just round off with one thought, and I think this is probably the most crucial key to successful change. Fortunately for me, since I work with change management, it turns out that the intellectual side of change management isn't particularly difficult. You guys could all tell me how I could lose 10 kilos. Eat less, exercise more. The hard part of change is having the discipline, the resilience just to keep going at it. And I think the ones that ultimately succeed with change aren't the ones that always are successful. They're just the ones that get up, brush themselves off, and go at it again. Thank you very much.